Hey folks, HeirofCarthage here, and I wanted to bring you a video today that I think might help you out a little if you're trying to build a computer right now. It is a rough time to build a computer because of certain parts availability, mostly graphics cards, but there's a dirty little secret out there when it comes to processors, and that secret is that Intel actually has the better budget option right now. I know, you all think that's crazy because AMD's a better value. They've always been a better value. They have in the past, but because of the demand on their parts right now, and the fact that when they release their new processors, there's not enough of them to meet supply, you can actually get an equivalent gaming performance with Intel for cheaper. And I'm going to talk to you about that a little bit right now. Thanks to my awesome sponsor, MSI, I have this MAG Z490 Tomahawk here to do some demonstration for you and just kind of show it to you. To me, this motherboard is great for exploiting this little secret of Intel being the better value on the processor right now. This Z490 is a great platform for Intel. It was made for their 10th gen processors, which is the one we're going to focus on here today, but it's also compatible with their 11th gen processors that will be coming out soon. And so the cool thing about that is it gives you a nice upgrade path, which is all the more reason why I think that at the moment, again, this is strange, it's not usually the case, but Intel really, in my opinion, has a very good value offering for someone looking to build a gaming PC. Anyway, yeah, this is what the Z490 the MAG Z490 Tomahawk looks like. What comes in the box with it? Just giving you a quick look at that. Let's go talk a little bit about what kind of computer you would want to build in order to do. So what I want to focus on is the two Intel processors, and really just one for this video, but I'll mention two. In this particular footage you're seeing here, I'm using an i5-10600K, which is actually a little bit higher end option because it's overclockable. And if you overclock this 10600K properly, you're going to get basically the same gaming performance as you would with the i9-10900K. It's an extremely good gaming processor. You can use this one. It's a bit more expensive, but I'm just using this footage as a stand-in here because I don't have the processor I really want to talk about, which is the i5-10400, and there are two versions of it, the 10400 and the 10400F. I will explain those here shortly. But yeah, anyway, that's what we want to talk about today. Just wanted to, again, use some of this footage to give you an idea of the parts, what they look like in real life before we jump over. I've got some parts list built for you to show you how to do this in hopefully relatively the most cost-effective way, but you'll also be able to modify it a little. So let's jump over. Let me show you the PC parts list, and then I'll also give you some footage at the end of kind of what a build like this looks like put together. Okay, I lied. Let's take a look at what it looks like put together right now. Now, I haven't connected all the power cables or anything else, but I just wanted to show you what I'm about to show you all on the parts list. And the Warhammer figurines are not included. These guys are my Stormcast Eternals. They're a work in process. This is an old MSI RX 580 graphics card that I'm using as an example. If you have an old graphics card, and again, I'll explain this in a minute when I get to the parts list, you can use it just to get this build up and running. Obviously, I've got 4 sticks of RAM in there right now as well. I'm only going to recommend that you buy 2. Again, I just wanted to show this as an example to show you, before we get to the parts list, this is what you could build and do so on a pretty reasonable budget, as you'll see. It's only going to be, like, without the graphics card, about $615, and then you can wait and find the graphics card of your choice. But you can see it looks very good. It's very clean. It's very good parts. Like, it's a solid gaming computer, right? This is not just what's going to feel super cheap, right? So let's get ready. Let's jump over into the parts list, and I'll explain the different options. Okay, folks, here's the parts list. I'm going to jump in and explain what I've picked and why. So obviously, I have a pretty soft spot in my heart for AMD right now. Both of my builds are running off an AMD processor. They're great. I still recommend them. But because of the current demand on AMD, I actually kind of feel like Intel may have the better budget gaming option here with the Intel Core i5-10400F. And like I said, that's the kind of the dirty little secret right now that a lot of people, haven't realized, is that because of all the demand on AMD, Intel actually kind of has the better budget option at the moment. So I built this around the 10400F. The F in any Intel processor means that it does not have onboard graphics. It doesn't have an iGPU, meaning you will have to have a dedicated graphics card to get a video signal with this processor, okay? You can also buy the 10400, which runs about $20 more and does have the iGPU. Now, the difference between these two, so let's say that, for instance, right now, you want to upgrade your computer, and a lot of your parts are pretty old, and we know that it's very difficult to buy a graphics card right now, but you want to upgrade everything else and just be waiting for when you can get a graphics card. So you could buy this stuff the way it's set up now and bring your old graphics card forward just until you are able to get one, and that would work with the 10400F. Or if you don't have a current PC but you want to start building one, get the 10400 and no graphics card and just run off of the Intel graphics until you're able to purchase the graphics card. But again, remember the F means you won't be able to output a video signal at all unless you have a dedicated graphics card. Now, I have not listed a graphics card here because they are extremely expensive and very difficult to even find in stock right now. This may vary a little bit from country to country, so I'm building this off of the assumption that you can't get a graphics card right now, but that we're preparing for the right time. So I think the Intel Core, the Core i5 10400F does come with an in-box cooler. It is terrible. If you just buy this cheap Cooler Master Hyper 212 Black Edition, I have used this cooler 2 or 3 times myself. It gets the job done nicely, and it looks good, as you've seen in the video up to this point. Only $30. This is well worth the investment to help your processor last longer and get better cooling. The motherboard that I've paired this with, and there's going to be 2 options here. I've got 2 paths for you to pick. So let's say that this is going to take all of my money to do something like this. I don't intend to upgrade this for like the next 3 or 4 years. Once I buy this, it's going to last. That's what this parts list is, okay? This motherboard here, the B460M Mortar Micro ATX, is a pretty good price for a very solid motherboard that will last for many years. It's great quality. And it's a solid gaming motherboard that has plenty of options on it in terms of it has M.2 availability. I apologize for my voice. It's kind of going out. You can see here we have an M.2 mount and then a second one down here. So 2 M.2, 4 DIMM slots for RAM. Really great cooling. You can see it all over here. The heat sinks. And then a couple of PCIe slots down here. Right over here, there's a whole bunch of SATA ports in case you ever want to add hard disk drives or optical drives. It has USB Type-C support for the front of your case if you need it. There's a USB 3.0 down here for the front of your case, and then a couple of USB 2.0. So a lot of really great support on this motherboard for the price. And if you're not really ever planning to upgrade that 10400F, you're just planning to run this system for as long as you can run it, then that is the motherboard I would recommend. Now, let's say that you're like, I want to get in cheap, but eventually I want to get something nice, right? I need to kind of go in bit by bit. Then here's what I would suggest. Change this build right here. Change out the MAG B460M to the one that I showed in the video up front, which is the Z490 Tomahawk. And then you have a really cool upgrade option that you can do. So you could buy it like this. It adds about $60 to the price, $60 or $70 to the price. What does that get you? Well, it does get you a motherboard that has even more options in it. It has extra both M.2s have a heat sink, which not a big difference. Extra PCIe slots for expansion. You're going to still get that Type-C 3.0 support here. So a lot of the same functionality that you're going to see in the Torpedo, but there's one big difference. This is a Z490 chipset versus the B460. And what this means is that, let's say that 2 years from now, you've used your 10400F and it's served you well, and you want to get an upgrade. Well, you could go out there and buy, I'll show you what you could go replace this with, in fact. So let's back up. Let's say that you want to upgrade this processor. Well, you've got a lot of options. The upcoming 11th gen Intel processors will slot into this motherboard as well, so you could get any of the 11th gen. But honestly, one of the coolest ones I think that would be to slot in here would be like this 10850K. This processor is pretty expensive right now. It's over $400. But 2 years from now, there'll probably be some of these things on the used market, and you'll be able to maybe pick those up for cheap, or they may just be cheap on retail because they're 2 years old. And this gives you a 10-core, 20-thread, basically top of the line, very near top of the line gaming processor that you could upgrade to in the future. So anyway, that was my suggestion on how you could play this one in the long run. So you have those options in terms of what you could possibly do with it. I'm going to back up over here, back to our parts list. So again, this is the Tomahawk motherboard. Let's go back all the way to this one with the with the mortar. And let's move on. RAM, pick whatever brand you want. I use this Team Force Vulcan as an example. It's a relatively decent price right now. You don't need fancy RAM. Anywhere on speed from 2933, anywhere up to 3200 is probably fine. On this B460 motherboard, you will be limited to 2933 as far as top speed. That's just all there is to it with these motherboards. That's another downside of the B460. Will that make a big difference? Not with an Intel processor, not in my opinion. I've never seen the Intel processor really suffer from that small difference in RAM speed. I think you're just fine. I put a cheap M.2 solid state drive in here. Look at this, $85, and you get a terabyte of high-speed storage for gaming. This kind of stuff is just a bargain. Look for this. Again, don't be sold on brand. Like this is another one from Team Group, I think. Just look for these deals, and this PC Part Picker is a great place. I put this case in here because it's the one I showed in the video. Again, you can pick any case, though I've used this case. It's a good one. It's easy to build in, has great options, good airflow. It'll keep stuff cool. So if you want something like this, I put it in here just so you can see it if you don't. But yeah, I really like this case that MSI made. And then I just threw this Cooler Master in here. I mean, anything 650 watts or better should be able to handle most of the graphics cards out there. If you plan to go buy a 3090 or a 6900 XT, yeah, this is probably not enough, but I think just about anything else out there, this will cut it. You'd be in good shape. Again, look for a good price. This thing right now, this is a semi-modular, which means it's even easier to manage your cables. It's gold or bronze certified and only $65, which in the States, it's a pretty good deal. So anyway, you can see here, you can put together a computer for about $615 here without the graphics card. And then you can just start playing the waiting game. And it depends on what you're looking for. Like, if you think you can get a hold of a 3060 coming up, which is supposed to be in about the $330 range, this gets you a fully built computer for under $1,000 if you're able to pick it up at that price. Now, that may or may not happen because of the demand we've seen on graphics cards, but I'm just using that as an example. AMD has cheaper graphics cards coming up soon as well. Maybe you want a high-end graphics card. I don't think you're going to stymie a 3070 or a 6800 with this 10400F. I've seen videos of people testing that. It shouldn't stymie it, especially if you're going to start playing at like 1440p or even 4K. So you can kind of pair this with whatever you want. In the video earlier, I had an old RX 580, which is an AMD graphics card, still sitting around. If you had something old like that or could find it locally or it comes out of your old build, just use that in this for the time being, just so it'll run until you're able to get a graphics card. But anyway, that's my suggestion. I hope this is helpful to you all, just to give you another option. I do want to cover the Z490 boards that have been announced by MSI. So I will be asking MSI to send me some of these Z490 boards for you all to check out as soon as they're available. They've been talking to me about it. They are planning to, hopefully help me let this cover this, and I'll try and show you the new Intel processors. But like I said, this gives you an option I think that is more on the budget-friendly end. Now, if budget isn't an issue, then sure, you should probably look at the Z490 and the 11th generation if budget isn't an issue, if you're going the Intel route, okay? Obviously, AMD is still another route as well, but I'm focusing on Intel here because we're talking Z490 and Z590, and that's all Intel. But anyway, I'll try and have them send me some of this so I can cover it for you all in the near future. You can see what Intel would have to offer on this next generation and how it does in game. And as always, if I do get to build one of these computers, I'll try and show you some of the difference, in Total War games, which is what my channel focuses on. But obviously, I think it's always fun to see, do we think it makes a whole lot of difference? All right, so let's recap here. I've got some footage of a completed build using basically the same parts here. This build did have a 10600K in it. I don't actually own a 10400 right now, but it would look just like this if you built it. But yeah, let's recap a couple of things. Again, in this build here, you're seeing the MAG Z490 Tomahawk. This is the way you should go if you want to have an upgrade path down the road, as I mentioned, and this is exactly what that computer would look like once you're able to get a graphics card and finish it off. It is a very good-looking computer, and it's a high-performing computer. Now, as I mentioned, Z490 is overkill for a 10400 because it is not an overclockable processor. If you want the upgrade option, use this Z490, this MAG Z490 Tomahawk. If you don't, use that other one that I mentioned to you, which was the MAG B460 Torpedo. Okay, so that gives you both options. But remember, the Torpedo is not near as good of a platform for upgrades later on. It can slot some of those processors in. It can't overclock them. So you still kind of do have that upgrade path available to you, but you're going to be limited on RAM speed, and you will be limited to not being able to overclock. That's why I'm saying if long run you think you will upgrade the processor, go with the MAG Z490 Tomahawk instead of the MAG B460 Torpedo. But again, that presents you a budget option. It's a good looking build, is it not? Yeah, if you want to know more or have any questions, let me know. Appreciate MSI sponsoring the channel as always, and happy to help you out in the chat. HeirofCarthage, signing out.